Hi, everybody, and welcome to I Rok Interviews. I'm Kori, and today I'm here with my CF sisters, Summer, Julie, and Anne. And we are going to be talking about something that is super exciting in the cystic fibrosis community. Trikafta. So if you want some more information on the specifics of Trikafta or what it does in the body, I'm actually going to include a link below so that you can use that as a resource, because today I really want to focus on what can only come from those who are living it, which is the experience. So all of these women have cystic fibrosis and they have all started Trikafta. However, they've all come from different backgrounds and they all have a different and unique entrance point to where they were in the rest of their lives when they started. So I had this idea to invite everybody into this interview, and thankfully for me and for all of us, they said yes, because I wanted to do this, one, for my own curiosity, my own interest, because I'm also someone who has cystic fibrosis but has not yet been able to try Trikafta, but also just as a community offering to be able to share and get their experience out there for all of us to take advantage of being able to listen to. So that brings us to today, and without further ado, let's just dive right into some of the questions. So thanks so much for being here today, guys. I really appreciate your energy and your time. And our first question today, I want to just ask you how long you have been on Trikafta. So anyone can go ahead and start.
Oh, I'll start. I am in the middle of week 7.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
And I am on day 67. So something I do is I number all my days up there so that I can keep track. So day 67 is where I'm at. November 6th is when I started.
Awesome. Thanks.
I just started week 6 on Trikafta, so a month and a half in.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. I'm really excited to hear about how things are going for you guys. Were any of you on either Orkambi or Symdeko when you started?
Yeah, I was on Symdeko for probably almost 2 years before I started.
Okay. And so the other part of that question is, did you notice any difference in starting Trikafta than when you started a Symdeko in terms of integration time or just things you noticed as you were transitioning or first starting?
You know, I didn't really notice anything with either Symdeko or Trikafta in terms of, I had tried Orkambi for 5 days and I just couldn't tolerate the side effects. Mm-hmm. So in terms of side effects, making you think, whoa, I can't do this, that didn't happen with either of the last 2 things I tried.
Okay. Sounds promising.
And I also was on Orkambi. I was never able to tolerate the full dose on that, but I did do a half dose, I want to say for almost 2 years. And then as soon as Symdeko was approved, I switched over to Symdeko and was on that for about 1.5 years until Trikafta was approved. And they were both, so Orkambi and Symdeko were both very difficult for me. Like I said, I was never able to fully tolerate the full dose of Orkambi. But then when I tried Symdeko for the first 3 months, it kicked my butt. I couldn't walk from my bedroom to my bathroom. And for a full 3 months, it was so short of breath, chest tightness were huge side effects for me. But I just wanted to keep pushing through because I knew that, and I started right away on the full dose of Symdeko. So finally, with a bunch of prednisone on board, after 3 months, I was finally able to start tolerating it. And so then, and then I just was on it for about 1.5 years, like I said, but never really felt too different. I wasn't seeing huge improvements or anything. It was keeping me stable though. So, and I have really low lung function. So I think stability at my level is key. So, and then started Trikafta after.
Thanks, Summer.
So I was in the trials for Orkambi. So I was on it for actually about 4 years. And when I first started Orkambi, I felt like it was really life-changing for me. I went from needing IV antibiotics every 3 months with orals in between. And my lung function at that time was in the 60s, but dropping to the 30s every time I got sick. So it was really scary knowing that dropping that low, sometime it might not rebound. So I found stability with Orkambi, and it did feel very different. I wasn't up coughing all night. So it felt like tremendous how much better I felt on Orkambi. So when Symdeko was approved, I didn't feel pressured or rushed to have to switch, because I kind of figured Orkambi is working probably as best it can with our options. So I was the last patient that was eligible at our clinic to switch. And I only switched when I knew that they were going for approval for Trikafta. And I felt like Symdeko was kind of a step closer to Trikafta. So I figured, I'll switch, and I'll probably be on that for a year until Trikafta gets approved. I actually ended up being on it only a week before it was approved. So then I kind of felt, this is really expensive medicine. I should probably stay on it for the full month. So I did stay on the Symdeko for a full month while the Trikafta was sitting in my medicine cabinet ready to go. And then when I switched to Trikafta, I didn't notice a difference between Orkambi and Symdeko. So I thought the same thing would happen with Trikafta, but I did have a really large purge with Trikafta, and some of the abdominal pain that people talk about was pretty severe for the first week. But after that, like completely life-changing, just not coughing really at all when I was coughing so much before. So definitely a big change. With a rough patch in between that transition, but I managed to stick with it and came out on the other side. So that's good.
And that's some pretty good self-control to have that box just sitting there and not start it right away.
I know.
So,
Yeah. I have a box of Symdeko in my drawer that is just like for the giving if somebody wants it.
And like, to be completely honest, I was hoping to be in it's the PROMISE study that they're doing now, where they're kind of following liver function and what. So I was trying to get that ironed out. And then when it became clear that the schedule wasn't going to work for my schedule, and I thought, I'm feeling really good. I can actually kind of keep my schedule and not focus so much on medical stuff right now. That's kind of a gift as well. So then I kind of gave myself the permission. Okay, it's all right. I can switch now and continue on. So
That's great. Thank you. So let's dive into it then. What are some of the changes that you guys have noticed that have been specific to Trikafta, and how long has it taken for you to start really noticing? I know, Julie, you're still pretty new, but everybody is really. But yeah, what are some of the things that you first kind of started noticing? I know, Anne, you just mentioned the purge time, and you feel like you're on the other side of that now.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm on the other side of that. I used to be hours of coughing in the morning, and now like I can take a shower without nebs before, whereas like it used to be when I would wake up, like nebs were the first thing. And sometimes it didn't even feel like you were going to make it to the living room to do your nebs, coughing so much. And now it's like I can actually get up and shower and do other things or exercise before even taking nebs.
Whoa.
Which is really, I'm still totally, I don't know if I'll ever get used to that, honestly. I'm like, pinch myself with that, not needing them immediately, or really feeling like you need them at all, but just like, I'm supposed to do this. I've done this my whole life, so I guess I should still be doing it until we hear otherwise. So.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I'm like that too. So on Symdeko, a couple days a week, I work with a trainer, and I usually go early in the morning, so I don't do my nebulizers first. And I could do that on Symdeko, but I would be coughing a little bit during exercise. It didn't keep me from going, but I could tell that I hadn't done my treatment yet. And then Symdeko came along, and within 4 days, Trikafta, sorry. Within 4 days of Trikafta, there was zero cough, like zip. nothing. And nothing even felt like it needed to be produced. So I would do my treatments because it's like this conditioned pattern that I'm actually afraid to change. It's almost like I'm superstitious, but I don't, it doesn't do anything. I just do it because it's an automated thing. And that, I can't even tell you how weird that feels. It's like I'm not even in my own body anymore, other than the aches and pains of, my back and my knees, and that the orthopedic stuff that tells me that I'm still in my body. But pulmonary wise, it's like, it's perplexing. Wow. It's just bizarre. I told my kids that I waited for a while because I didn't want them to, I wanted to be sure first. And, they're older now, so they don't live with me. But I told them, first I told Phoenix in a phone call, I said, I have no cough. And he's like, first of all, he just couldn't believe it. Then he kind of teared up a little bit. And then he said, Mom, how am I going to find you? And then the next day I told Griffin, and he literally said the exact same thing. Like, how am I going to find you in the grocery store? There's no sound.
That's so great.
It's great.
We had a similar situation at the grocery store, actually. My husband and I got separated, and he was listening for my cough. Sorry, my dog is sitting on my lap. And he was like, I couldn't hear you. And I said, well, I gave a cough. And I said, but it wasn't an authentic cough. It was a fake cough. And he's like, I didn't recognize that as your cough. So yeah, the same thing. And my kids have been like noticing. We went to the auditorium theater to see a play, and we were running late. And Alexa was like, Mom, you just ran up the stairs and you're not huffing and puffing and you're not coughing. And even such simple things like you recognize it impacts your life, but it's just part of life. I mean, like we went to a 3-hour show and I didn't cough once, where normally I'm like, we need seats. I need to be on the edge. I need to be by the door. I need to sneak water in, even though if I start coughing, the water is not going to really help, and have a whole arsenal of every cough drop possible, knowing that they're not going to really help, but feeling like I have some kind of control if I start coughing, when reality is I just have to often evacuate. And I haven't had to do that. I could almost, if I felt comfortable, sit in the middle of a whole row and not ever have to worry about running out because I start coughing or bothering people. So that's really incredible. Yeah.
It really is. It really is. That's awesome.
I think the changes that our bodies are seeing is like, Julie, you had said like, you don't recognize your body. And I agree. Like, I'm very in tune with my body, and like, I know the ins and outs of it. And now like things that used to mean one thing don't mean the same anymore. And I found myself I had the abdominal pain when I started in like day 5, basically, to like day 9. And it was weird to like have to be in bed for my stomach and not my lungs. Like my lungs just felt so good. And honestly, I felt like a difference after that first dose. So my mucus is always like disgusting, thick, sticky, like peanut butter. I can fill up a 3-ounce cup, no problem. And the last time I was able to do that was the treatment before my first morning dose of Trikafta, which is incredible. And then after that, it literally was just liquid. And then it went to like non-existent at all. Like I didn't even have mucus. I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, why is it all white in this cup? Like, where's the green, like gross mucus that I'm used to? So yeah, it's so interesting to like see the changes as they happen. And like my cough has changed. It sounds like you were saying, Anne, like a fake cough. Like it sounds pathetic. I'm like, wait, what is that cough? And then my laugh is so loud. I was telling, so I have a friend that was on Kalydeco, and when she first got on it, like when it first was available, and I could tell like her laugh changed. And I told her laugh sounded like a pterodactyl. And now I'm like, I have the pterodactyl laugh. Like it's loud and like obnoxious. And so, yeah, it's just like things, like the little things that are changing that you don't really think about until it happens. And you're like, whoa, like I just laughed and didn't cough. Or just like things like that. Or yeah, being able to like sleep through the night and not have like a coughing fit. So things like that are pretty incredible. And then I just recently got sick and had metapneumovirus, which is insane. I've never heard of it. And just having Trikafta on board, like I know that it helps me get through that. And I think it could have been a different outcome without that. So it's definitely doing amazing things and changing our bodies incredibly. And, I think, with greater lung function, I think hopefully we can all speak louder for those that still need help and that 10% that, need something like this, because it's pretty powerful. And to see the changes firsthand is incredible.
That's so exciting to hear. I'm so excited about that. I actually, I've been muting in between because I've been coughing, but that what you're speaking about, Summer, with being able to laugh, like that is something that's one of the things I feel like I really miss. Is I used to have a really great like belly laugh as a kid, and once in a while it still happens, but there's such repercussions for it. Like if I laugh, I go into a coughing fit and sometimes an asthma attack, and it's just it's hard to laugh. So I'm hoping that will be something that I can enjoy soon too, and it really lights my heart up to hear that that's happening. So thank you.
And not peeing in your pants when you cough so hard or laugh. I mean, all the little things that people take for granted. Those are the things that have been amazing. So amazing to see.
Oh, that's so great. Well, that kind of brings us to my next question was, are there things that are totally unexpected, just unexpected surprises? And I feel like you've all kind of touched on that a bit. And that piece about being identified by the cough, Julie, I feel like that happened to me like all through school. People would say, oh, you were in the hall third period or something, right? Because they could hear, they knew me by my cough, and Rick will identify me by my cough in a crowd too. So, but yeah, have there been other unexpected surprises or anything that you haven't mentioned yet that you just weren't expecting to see change? And I think that Anne may have popped off, so she might pop back in, but for either Summer or Julie.
Julie, you want to take it and then I'll.
Sure. So one surprising thing is my exercise capacity has increased, and I feel like for my age, my exercise capacity was pretty on point, so I didn't think that was going to get better, because Symdeko just kind of kept me baseline. I could do what I needed to do, and I felt pretty happy to be. Frequently, there would be days where I often did and didn't even think about it, do 2 different workouts, kind of like cardio and then go lift with Taylor or, something like that. And so I felt like, this is as good as it's going to get in this lifetime. But with Trikafta, it feels like I can push harder. Like, I'll be on the exercise bike going pretty hard according to my heart rate. It's like in the 150 range, and I'm almost 60. So that's, 85, 90% maximum. And my lungs will be like, meh, what else you got? It's like there's not a cough going on. I don't feel short of breath. My heart rate tells me, this is probably where you should, stop here. Mm-hmm. But my lungs are just like, they're not feeling pushed in any way, which is crazy.
That's great. That's so exciting.
Yeah, to have your body give out before your lungs do, that's that's something. Or like you're like, oh man, my calves can't take this anymore. But that would be a crazy feeling, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I need to have a serious workout regimen, like when I get off these IVs. Hopefully I want to ditch the leash. That's like my main goal with Trikafta. Like, my lung function is, I consider myself, they always say like end stage disease or whatever, but I like to call it established lung disease. And, my lung function has been continually like stable around 28%. And for me, when I did my PFTs after 2 weeks of being on Trikafta, I got to 33%, and that hadn't happened in 10 years. And so that was amazing to see, and has definitely been helpful for this virus that, has knocked me down. So I'm so grateful for that. And just to see those numbers again is so amazing, and it really incredible. And because usually, like where I'm at, like you don't see your lung function improve unless, there's a double lung transplant involved or something. So I think that's in itself is incredible. But for me, lung function is just, it's numbers. I'm trying not to let that like rule everything, and easier said than done. But I think quality of life is important. And I think, like for me, ditching the leash is like my number one goal. So whatever I can do to make that happen. And I was getting so close, and then this virus, but yeah, I think like just to have the energy to work out and, do cardio and try and do it, whatever I can to, make that happen is a great thing. Like that in itself, I think means a lot, that like the Trikafta is definitely doing something, and it's changing my body, and, things are happening for me to like have that be an option. So I'm excited to see what will happen and what's to come. But yeah.
That's great. I'm excited to see that for you too, Summer. And I'm just going to keep picturing you ditching that leash.
Yes. Ditching the leash, like lassoing it off and being like, see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have a ditching the leash party.
There you go.
Great. Thank you. So my next question is, have there been any side effects that have kind of stuck with you along so far, like besides the initial purge and that kind of stomach pain? And I ask this just knowing that everybody's different, everybody's body is going to respond differently. So I'm really just curious about your own experiences, and of course know that that's not going to dictate what happens for other people, but just curious.
Well, I'll go first. So I didn't have a purge. Like maybe I coughed a little bit the first day or two, more than usual, but I wasn't a big cougher before that. So I guess it was a little noticeable in that sense. But a weird thing happened where I went for about 4 weeks with zero cough. And then for about 4 days, my cough came back, and it was really loose. Like, whoa, where'd this come from? And now it's gone again. But what happened, according to my home spirometer, is I had like a little jump again. So I had the initial jump, went stable, a little bit of a cough, and then I bumped up again, which was a surprising. So talk about surprise. I didn't think I was going to get, any increase, because most of my decrease is due to bronchiectasis, which isn't going to reverse no matter what I take. It's a scar. Scar is a scar is a scar. But that's my pathology brain talking, and my spirometer is like, yeah, that's not true, Julie. So that's a surprise. That's a real surprise. In terms of side effects, so, I had a low-grade fever for the first few days and nothing else. I never got the stomach pain, but what I did have almost initially, and it continues to this day, is this feeling at night when I'm lying in bed. Have you guys heard of the term borborygmi? So it's like, yeah. So just like imagine your intestines turn into a living serpent in your gut, and it's moving around, and it's like I'm acutely aware of every moment of digestion. It almost feels like there's going to be like an explosion, an alien's going to come out of my gut, but it never happens. I wake up the next morning, it's gone. So that's the one, and it's not even like painful, it's just weird. But yeah, that's the only thing that is different between how I felt before starting and how I feel now, in terms of like, I was going to say negative consequences, but it's not negative. It's sort of a neutral thing that's just very noticeable.
It's like a tap dancing alien that comes out. Like,
Kinda. Yeah, but it's more like It's more like this.
Oh, a belly dancing alien.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, with 8 arms.
Yeah, I don't think they're negative at all. And I didn't have the purge either. I'm hyper compliant and I do like 5 to 6 treatments a day. So I don't think there was anything really to purge. And plus I had been on Symdeco. And so, like I said, the mucus started getting really thin and that was so great. And then eventually just like stopped, like there was nothing. And then also like 4 weeks in, I thought maybe I had gotten a cold. And I think it honestly was just Trikafta, like going down deeper and like opening up things. And so the mucus did come back and then eventually went away again. So, and I honestly think that might be something that just like happens the longer we take it. We'll go in spurts. Like, I mean, this is just me like guessing, but, and then I did have some GI pain the first like week. And then I think like week 5, I had some pain like over on like my gallbladder, like liver side. And so it went from like left side to right side. And then, but to me, I viewed it all as positive, like almost as if my organs for the first time were like turning back on. And like, that was what the pain was from. And so, it was nothing that I was like, I could just push through it and it was fine. But yeah, so I viewed it all as like positive things that were happening. Like my body was wakening up and this Trikafta was working and turning things on. And yeah, I don't think it was anything, the side effects were anything negative at all, luckily, thankfully. And I'm able to tolerate it unlike the other two. So grateful for that. But like you said, Kori, everyone is so different. And so I try not to pay too much attention to like, there's a bunch of groups that like say what the side effects are and stuff like that. But I try not to pay attention to that because we all are so different and it is going to affect us all so differently. So I kind of don't want to like put those things in my head. So that's I kind of just was just focusing on like what my body was experiencing. But yeah, for the most part, I don't view the side effects that I had. I didn't view them as negative at all. Like Julie had said.
Well, I feel like that's just a really powerful mindset to have anyway. And I think that will help with anything that comes in life. And I'm a strong believer. I really feel like that helps our bodies to be able to receive treatments, how we receive them and what kind of spin and story we put on them ourselves. But also I do that. So if there's like with these MAC, the cocktail that I'm on right now, I usually give the med sheet to Rick and my husband and say, okay, I'm not going to look at this. I don't want to know. But if something starts happening for me that you see on that med sheet that I should be calling the doctors, let me know, And so that's kind of how I handle it because I don't want to have that put in my head. But I want the information there and available. So
I'm going to say I definitely, can you hear me? Because I had a little glitch again. We're good. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
no problem.
I definitely had the purge when I first started. I've like Julie had said, or someone said, I am a cougher. I cough a lot. So this was definitely more. Usually I only carry a red Solo cup around to cough into when I have an exacerbation or like the purge. I was just carrying my red Solo cup to spit into, and it was horrible gray green swamp like material that just been sitting down there brewing. So I kept thinking like, this is good. We want to get it out, and I'm going to feel with everything in me that this is coming out and it's not being replaced with new. When you're sick and you have that coming out, it's kind of just probably quickly being replacing. And I was just thinking, okay, this is not being replaced. It's being replaced with normal mucus. That's what I have to focus on. And then I did start to get that really bad. And a lot of people say GI pain. I couldn't tell if it was GI pain or lower lung pain because it felt like it was like my second rib up from the bottom. So of course that makes me, as much as I wanted to keep focus on it's good, things are opening up, things are moving, or functioning normally, which my organs aren't used to, then I started to kind of go down that slippery slope of, it could be my gallbladder. And would I be in a position if I have to get my gallbladder out? Like, how would that work? You know, because with lung function and lung disease, and terrified of having another surgery and like emergency surgery, I tried to not focus on that. But when the pain was so severe, it was hard not to think like something is really wrong. I mean, it would take a lot for me to go to the ER. And there was a couple of times I was thinking, I have to go to the ER because something is really wrong. And then I contacted my doctor, and he said, let's try a pain management. So we put together a pain management plan. And with the amount of Advil and Tylenol I was taking, it wasn't upsetting my stomach, which kind of put a peace of mind that maybe it was airway stuff going on, thinking that if over-the-counter pain medicine could help, it probably wasn't my stomach, because those things would probably hurt your stomach a little bit more if you're taking them. So then I kind of just kept thinking, okay, it's probably airways opening up. There's probably like deep cement, like mucus down there that's finally trying to move out, and airways that are like, oh, I can function again. But it was almost 2 weeks of pretty intense pain. Like the pain management program made it tolerable, but I was still in pain. So I definitely had moments of, I really want this to work, but if this is going to be forever, oh gosh, how do you choose between not coughing anymore and being able to breathe, but debilitating belly lung pain? So I definitely had a couple moments of, please let us be able to work through this. And it worked. I was able to work through it. And just one day it stopped, which was so odd.
Well, good.
I actually have a theory about what that pain is all about. I think it's biliary tree. So your gallbladder sitting there, and a lot of people have had such pain that they did get their gallbladders out. But that gallbladder is like the dumping post for your bile ducts in the liver. You know, they're producing their bile and it all dumps into the gallbladder. And CFTR is lining the biliary tree in the liver. So, and I think of the bile in the liver kind of the way the mucus in the lung, it gets kind of stuck. And so as the bile starts forming normally, there's probably some backup, and that causes pain. I mean, biliary spasms are horrible, which is why gallbladders get taken out all the time. They're horrible. It's the worst pain you can imagine. And that also kind of, to me, makes sense why it would just suddenly stop, right? Because finally everything has been cleared. It's like Drano has worked in the liver, and now the bile's normal and it's getting through to where it needs to go. And so that sort of colicky spasm doesn't happen anymore.
Thanks for that, Julie. I've been really curious about some of the response around the liver and gallbladder and the different organ systems and what's moving, what's waking up for people. So that's helpful.
Right. Like those mucus ducts are just all opening and thinning out. And that's, I think, what's causing the pain. That's kind of what I was thinking too. But it is painful. Like, like if it always happens like when I'm at night, when I'm laying down, so then I'm like, oh, I could be going to the ER for this. This is ridiculous. Like, cause like you said, Anne, like it takes a lot to like make that happen. And, but if I was like standing, like have a high tolerance of pain. And I know like if I was standing when those pains would happen, like it was like drop you to the knee. Like, like it was pretty painful. So.
Yeah. Prior to Symdeko, I actually had gone to the ER, and it was after my gallbladder had been out. So it wasn't gallbladder pain. I had been to the ER a couple times with this excruciating pain, and nobody could ever figure out what it was. But I think it was biliary.
Interesting.
That's why we get a certain type of liver disease called focal biliary cirrhosis, where it's not total cirrhosis of the liver, it's just in areas. And it's because of these mucus plugs that cause backup, and then there's inflammation and scarring. So I think that whole pathologic process in the liver is what's happening, but with Trikafta, it's like, it's not stopping with inflammation and scarring, it's just flushing through.
Interesting.
Yeah, we had that same discussion when I had my appointment, my first appointment following starting Trikafta, and I had said like the pain resolved, but it was so hard to pinpoint where it was. And was it worse when I ate? Was it less? Because I'm thinking if it's gallbladder, like, did I eat something really high in fat? Did I forget my enzymes? Like, what is going on? And we had the discussion that it could be biliary related, or it could be lung related, or there's just so much going on, like everything with CF, it could be a whole host of things going on at once, and it can be difficult to pinpoint what's actually happening. But
yeah, it's a lot to try and be with. And I'm sure for the body, I mean, there's so much that's happening. Cystic fibrosis is certainly not just a lung disease. It affects everywhere. There's a mucous membrane in our body. So there's all sorts of change that's happening. I know for myself, I'm someone who I wasn't able to tolerate Orkambi, and I couldn't try Symdeko because of what was going on with the MAC lung disease back and forth. So I'm someone who will be kind of starting cold turkey, is that what I want to say? But just starting with Trikafta just from nothing, and potentially even starting while still on a MAC cocktail that they think might be okay for me to start with. So I definitely have some nervousness about the start, but like all of you have mentioned in different ways, also just trying to be really conscious about how I receive it and be open to the possibility of growing pains, but the awesomeness of the change that can come from it. So, so I have two more questions for you. So one, you may or may not actually have a response to, but I was curious about if any of you had noticed any hormonal changes, or for those who are, still menstruating, if there have been changes with that. And I ask because I know that there are a number of women out there who have cystic fibrosis. The symptoms of their CF can increase when they're menstruating. And I'm curious if any of you have noticed any hormonal changes related to hormonal changes, basically.
I can jump in with that. So I don't really get a period every month because I have a Mirena IUD, so it keeps the bleeding to a minimum. Interestingly enough, I do spot right before my daughter gets her period, so thanks for that. I definitely have noticed, and it's so, again, there's just so much going on. I will be 40 next month, so there's definitely some just hormonal switch around there. I'm just getting older, which is incredible. But I definitely, I feel like the week before I would get my period, if I did it, I definitely do notice, I've always had breast tenderness before that, but it does feel more now, and definitely have some more breaking out going on my chin, and night sweats now, which is new since starting Trikafta. But again, it's hard to know with family history of early menopause if that's what it is. Or I kind of sometimes think my immune system typically does turn up the heat when it's dealing with something. So maybe if Trikafta is just moving stuff in my lungs, my immune system's like, oh wait, here's this infection I haven't been dealing with. I kind of secluded it off or whatever. But I think kind of normally I would think of night sweats as maybe a hormonal thing also, or immune system related. So I don't really know, but I've definitely, actually I had posted on one of the Facebook sites because I woke up so sweaty one morning that my fingers were pruny, which obviously happens when we swim or in the shower. But I'm like, how can someone sweat so much that you have the wrinkling on your fingers? Like that had to be some pretty intense sweating going on. Mm-hmm. So again, is it Trikafta? Is it hormone related? Is it probably a whole combination of both? I would say so. But I definitely feel some hormonal stuff, but again, without having a period to really pinpoint when stuff is happening, it's a little more difficult to figure that out. Sure.
So I'm on my third cycle right now since starting Trikafta, and the first two were pretty light, and this one actually started earlier than usual and is still going. But that could have been like the trauma with the virus in my body. But hormones definitely play a huge part in my CF. I have cantonenal hemopsis. So every time I would get my period, I would cough up blood like the first couple days before.
Mhm.
And I mean, that has not happened since I've been on Trikafta, so that's great. And I also will sometimes have cantamino pneumothorax. So but it's not anything major, but just a tiny airway will collapse a little bit, and then that will just cause pain, and always right before my period. And then it just resolves itself, like nothing to warrant like a chest tube or anything. So, so hormones definitely play a part in my CF, and those things have not happened since I've been on Trikafta. So that's all great, I would say. But I've noticed things are changing. So again, like I don't know like if it's Trikafta or what is happening with my body, like who knows what's happening, because CFTR is like in our entire bodies, right? So it's everywhere. And Trikafta is changing all of those things. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's happening with my cycle right now, but it has definitely been heavier than usual. And also something that I've noticed, which I'm laughing because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but my breasts are huge. And I'm like, is this like a side effect of Trikafta? I'm like, what is happening? And my friend had done a post on like women's issues and like the like cervical mucus and everything changing with Trikafta. And someone had messaged her that she went up 2 cup sizes. And I'm like, that can't happen for me. Like, I don't need that to happen. But it's a thing. So then I'm like Googling, is there CFTR in breasts? Is like epithelial cells, like what's happening? And it's true. Like there are a ton in there. So it could happen. So I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but that's where I'm at right now. So
Nice. Thanks.
All those breast ducts are lined with CFTR. It's epithelial. They're secreting. Yeah.
So they'll be like holding the door for me and be like, finally, then I'm walking through because of like, I don't know. But yeah, so definitely things are changing. I think our entire bodies are changing. Absolutely.
Interesting. Thanks, Summer. Anything else to add, Julie?
Well, I went through menopause about 10 years ago, so I feel like I have no estrogen in my body whatsoever, which is good from a CF standpoint, right? Because estrogen can kind of mess things up with chloride secretion. So I haven't noticed anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm super hoping that changes for me too, because it's always really rough around that time of month. And I also have a hemoptysis that's related to my cycle and all sorts of fun stuff. So exciting. Okay, so my last main question for you all is really around the emotional component of how things are changing since Trikafta was approved by the FDA. And I'm wondering just if there have been any emotional pieces that have come up for you, if you're willing to share some of what that has been. I know for me, there's been I've had all sorts of range of feels, and some of it has been surprising to me, just even when it comes and why it comes. I've had some guilt, maybe some survivor's guilt type thing that's come up from friends who've passed, of course. I know, Summer, you mentioned earlier, there's the 10% that cannot yet benefit from this drug. There's the, what might my life look like now? Like I just turned 40 as well. And that's never something that I thought I would make or see. And now maybe with Trikafta, there's this possibility that maybe I can have even more life. And so there's all sorts of, for me, I know I've experienced grief, I've experienced hope, I've experienced anxiety, more hope, more excitement, more grief, more guilt, more, all of it kind of coming up. And so I'm wondering what some of those emotions have been for you all, and how you've dealt with it, or how you've coped, and how you're still coping as things change and evolve.
I guess I'll hop in. Definitely have felt all of those emotions as well. and it will probably make me cry as I'm talking because it's real. So I missed a little bit before, but I've been, so my lung function went from 55%. That was kind of my baseline. And my 1 month in, I was at 74%. And so that was like, wow, I haven't been there in forever. And as I'm running, so I use exercise and running, I was noticing how actually running became enjoyable again. That before it was just something I had to do. I had, just like I have to do my it's airway clearance, and I have to do it to get all of the mucus out. And now when I can run without I can run without coughing even, or a little wimpy cough. I feel so happy, but at the same time, it's so different. It's not familiar to me. And that's just a lot of emotion. I think it speaks to how much is changing. And it kind of makes all of those emotions start up like, wow, I can run without coughing or peeing my pants. This is incredible. And like how much other stuff is going to change. When I run, oftentimes songs will come on that remind me of a sister who's passed, numerous ones. And I try to really focus on, I know that they would want us to be enjoying this, and they didn't, them leaving doesn't necessarily impact, they would want us to live and be happy and take full advantage of all of this. I know that if when my time comes, everyone here, I want you to keep living. So I just really try to like push to the song and be like, thanks to whoever that song reminds me of, like, thanks for getting us here. You were part of that process to get us to these treatments. And then like another little, just kind of, it hits you, things that happen. I was off for 2 weeks from school where I work, which is new since the modulators. I wasn't able to work beforehand, and I went back part-time, and just this year I was able to go full-time again. And it's odd to think with CF at 40, you're able to go back to work like that that doesn't happen. I mean, unless you have a lung transplant and you think, you want to try working again, and it's, a balance also. But anyway, I opened my bottom desk drawer, and I thought I hadn't been in school in like 3 weeks. And I opened my bottom desk drawer to get a snack out, and I saw the container there with all of cough drops and all different types of things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't had a cough drop in my mouth in like a month. And it was just a real like, wow. I was always making sure I had cough drops in my pocket and a bottle of water, and I haven't had to worry about that, which is so exciting. And again, it's just one of those little moments where you think, wow, this has changed so fast, and it's incredible, really.
Thanks, Anne. Yep. I can relate to everything you said, except still needing the cough drops in the water.
Right.
So I also went through a lot of very, very similar emotions. When I first read that it had been approved, 6 months early, almost, I was just kind of overcome with gratitude and sort of a weird combination of anticipation / anxiety, which are both sort of the same emotion, but different flavors of that emotion. So I was like anticipating with great excitement being able to take it, but I was also anxious because I'd had this previous experience with Orkambi where I couldn't take it. So I was like, oh God, there was kind of a combination of that. Mm-hmm. And then there was like this wave of sadness because I was thinking of my sister and my brother who, but for a random birth order event, either one of those people could be in my shoes instead of me. And, they both died way too young and experienced way too much suffering. And it just made me so sad that they couldn't be here for this. And so I kind of got this, you know, I was really feeling a lot of survivor guilt. But then I also sort of got this message that, I mean, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I feel like it was from them saying, stop, just stop and live your life and be happy. You know, this is kind of the grand order that just is here. It's just what it is. And you feeling guilty about this is not going to change one iota of reality. You know, this is reality. So just grab it and enjoy every moment that you get. Mm-hmm. So there's just this weird kind of tapestry of different emotions happening. And, you know, that was kind of that day. And since then, you know, things have kind of settled down. And I still feel like just talking about Kathy and talking about Tom just make my heart break. But I also know that they would want me to be, you know, as happy as I could possibly be. And yeah, the same thing when I think of, you know, Anna and other friends of mine who have passed away, you know, they're not going to want us to sit here and feel bad for them. Mm-hmm. They're not suffering anymore. And that's the most important thing.
Right. Yeah. I had a similar experience where, I mean, I was just crying for days, and I was like, what is it? Like, I didn't even know what I was crying about fully. Yeah. And then there was one day and moment where I was standing at my kitchen counter and I was there by myself, and I just like put my head against the counter. My hands were on the counter itself, and the tears just wouldn't stop coming. And then it was almost like, and again, I mean, this might sound crazy, but it's my experience and my truth. I felt like I literally felt my friends, it's going to make me tear up, but like I literally felt them come and put their hands on my back and just like almost give me a blessing to move ahead. And I don't know if I would have been able to step into taking Trikafta without having that experience. And again, not that I think anybody should feel that way, but it was just what was coming for me. And I got that same feeling of just okay, like it's okay. And they, of course, like I can say in my mind, of course they would be happy for me. Like, and of course I would want that for them. And I can say all these things to rationalize it, but it took that feeling sensation coming through my body and my heart to actually be able to step into what I hopefully can soon in the way that I think I can now. But yeah, relate to that.
Yeah, I think I think we've all felt these emotions, and it is hard, but like you guys said, I can't not think that our angels like had a special part in making this all happen for us. And I know too that, you know, they are happy for us and they are wanting us to live life. And that's the thing too, is like when I first found out I was actually getting my line placed, I was going in the hospital for a clean out, and I was down in IR, and it was announced that it was approved, and they're trying to like put a peripheral IV in me to like, so they could start my line. I'm like, no, I'm like messaging people and like freaking out. I'm like, no, this is huge. And I'm like bawling. I'm like, this is it. Like, this is huge news. And it just was every single emotion I think we could experience, every emotion that there is. I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I felt them all. And it was just, all of it's just been so powerful. And, you know, I think every emotion that there is, we've felt it, and we've felt it like 10 times the emotion, you know, like that you usually feel. And it's, I think just, it's a great thing. I think hope for sure is the number one emotion. Hope that we can live and not just survive every day. And also determination. And that is for the people that don't have this option or the magnitude of something like this, because we're not done and we need to still keep going, because that emotion of like knowing that's not lost on me, that we have this, you know, to try, and we are able to try this. I cannot even fathom how the people that aren't able to take this, like how they're feeling. And that's a hard thing to digest, and like what they're feeling. And two, I know that they're happy and they're excited for us, but also like it's got to be so hard for them to like see all these stories. And even the people, even in the 90%, there's still people that aren't able to take this or tolerate it. And that's hard too. And, you know, and like, and it feels like it's like so close for them, but it's out of their reach. And that's why I really feel that, or really hope that, you know, with greater lung capacity that all of us are hopefully going to achieve, we will get louder and we will, you know, make things happen for the other 10%, or the people that aren't able to take something like this, or the people that don't have the means to get it. You know, there's a lot, just because it's for 90% doesn't mean 90% are able to take it. Mm-hmm. So I just think that's the hope and determination, I think, is what I'm feeling the most, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Summer. That was really well said, and definitely right there with you. All of that. So, okay. So I lied. I do have one other question that has sort of popped in as we're talking, and that's just for, I'm wondering if any of you have had any responses that you feel like sharing around some of your immediate family responses. So any of your kids or partners or parents, or if there's anything that you've noticed or any shifts that they've shared with you in terms of any other hopes that they have, or ways that it might have changed their lives, or anything that's come up for your immediate family members that you'd like to share.
I think relief, maybe, excitement. I know, my parents, I feel like they've just waited my whole entire life for something like this. And they, I think they're excited and they feel some relief and like, maybe just, I don't know the right words that I'm looking for, but like, calm, like just like, you know, that things will be okay, and that this is definitely going to help, and hope too. I think they're just hoping that, like I said, I can live and not just like nearly survive every day. And maybe 5 to 6 treatments doesn't have to be my norm. And, you know, I know before I got this virus, like I was 3 to 4 instead of 5 to 6. And like just little things like that, like quality of life, I think for the people around us to see that. And I was at a point where if I was sitting, I was fine to like take my oxygen off. And like, I was at a dinner party and I didn't have my oxygen on. And like, my friends are just like, we're just sitting here right now, like witnessing this. Like, and I think it's exciting for them to see. And like, they've been with us to like see every trial and tribulation that we go through. And for them to like finally see some hope and some relief, I think is amazing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Thanks.
So I have, so I already kind of relayed how my kids reacted, but one thing that Griffin said, which I found hilarious, he's a gamer, like really major gamer, plays League of Legends way too much. But anyway, his comment when I told him that I had 0 cough and that my lung function, according to my spirometer, had jumped up about 10%. And by the way, it's gone up another 5% since that conversation. So, I mean, I kind of not believe in it until it is replicated at clinic. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, he said, Mom, you beat the game. You totally beat the game. Aww. You stayed alive long enough for this to happen. You totally beat the game. And he's like, I was like, yeah, you know, you're right. I got to beat the game. But then on the other hand, Barb, my partner, so we have this long-standing joke that she has a lot of orthopedic issues. She's had both knees replaced. She's had back surgery. You know, she's a basketball player in college, so she tore up her knees and had horrible arthritis. And she's got a lot of arthritis and pain, chronic pain issues. So our standing joke was that as we aged, she'd be in the wheelchair and I'd be pushing her, but she'd be holding my oxygen tank, right? So that's kind of our vision of the future. But the other day she said to me, "You are totally messing this up, Julie, because you're not going to be needing this oxygen tank." So there was, a little bit of wistfulness I could sense in that comment from her end of things, is that I'm not aging the way that we're supposed to be aging. I think she'll adjust. I think everything's fine. But it's just not, it's just perfect example really of, we have no idea what the future is going to hold. We like to hold these stories, and it kind of gives us this sense of control, maybe, that we have this image of how things are going to pan out, but we have no idea.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Excitement and gratitude, I think, are another, everyone's just the gratitude that you're not going to be you needing the oxygen, right? That's just huge.
Yeah.
And to hear stories like that, they are amazing. It's amazing, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start. My parents are just kind of overwhelmed. I'll just, text my mom little things that happen throughout the day, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it." And it was really funny. The other day I mentioned to her, I don't know, we're talking about something, and she goes, "Oh, do you have to worry about weight gain now? Because I don't want you to have to struggle with weight like I did." When our whole life is our parents eat this, gain weight, you look too thin. And now my mom is worried that I'm going to have knee issues like her because I'm going to gain astronomical amounts of weight once I hit 40 or something. So that was just kind of a fun twist to have my mom worried about other body issues going forward. Definitely my kids have said, it's so quiet. We don't hear mom coughing. And obviously everyone in my house is used to hearing me cough. But then my husband will say the same thing. It's so weird not to hear you cough in the middle of the night, or you're down running on the treadmill and I hear the treadmill going, but I don't hear you coughing like usual. So that's definitely just surprise. And my parents were here for Christmas, and Jeff were talking. My parents said when I went to college, they noticed how quiet the house was because my cough wasn't there. And they just associated the cough, not with necessarily that I'm coughing, but just Anne's here. And, my family, Jeff and the girls, associate that cough also with just mom's here, Anne's here. And it's almost a comforting sound to them, unless it's really bad, obviously. And then now the same thing, I lost Anne in the grocery store. I couldn't hear her coughing, or I didn't hear mom this morning. I didn't realize it was time to get up because I didn't hear her coughing downstairs. Just incredible little
That's just an excuse.
Yeah, right. They're just lazy teenagers that don't want to get up. Just leave it on there. Their coughing alarm clock didn't go off.
Oh, thank you so much. So is there anything else that anybody would like to share before we close today? Any particular resources or anything else that we didn't touch on that you think might make sense to close with today?
I liked Summer definitely hit on it, that all of us, we know that our CF progresses and exhibits itself in different ways. So I think it's really important to remember, while we might have some things in common, I had belly pain or I had a purge or whatever, it's very different for every person. So it's just like living with CF always is, it's important to know your body. And if something feels wrong, bring it, figure out a way, if it's your medical team or reaching out to others just to kind of compare notes, but know that we're all going to experience this in different ways and different feelings. And there is some neutral ground and things that we kind of, emotions that we've said that we all have kind of felt those feels, but same thing with medical stuff. We're all going to experience it differently, and we can compare notes, but know that just because one person had something happen, it's not necessarily going to happen the same way for you. So just kind of go in open-minded, as we always say, with a positive attitude that it's all going to work out, and just know that it will be okay. We're going to all, get through, but just a little helpful reminder that we all experience, just like living with CF. It's just another thing that we all experience differently.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Thanks, Anne. Anybody else? No. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come together and be together today and sharing some of your experiences. I really appreciate it. And you all are just such wonderful human beings. So I'm grateful to share a screen with you today and look forward to seeing what's next for everybody. So thanks so much, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, Kori.
Thanks, Kori. And thank you, other guy, Kori and Summer and Anne. Thank you guys all.
Yeah, thank you, Kori, Summer, and Julie. It was great chatting.
Yeah, it was fun. I really have enjoyed this. So excited to see what our futures hold for all of us.